Joe Bob Briggs here with the #1 rule for a TNT MonsterVision movie. Anybody can die at any moment.
Tear into Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, next on TNT's MonsterVision.
Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and we thought we needed something Christmassy tonight, something with the spirit of the season, and so we'll be hacking up some horny teenagers. And Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which had to eventually be changed to Friday the 13th, Part 4, because, surprise, it turned out not to be the final chapter after all, and there were plenty more dead teenagers waiting to be pitchforked while having sex. I'm sure you can't wait for that, but I'm a little spaced right now because I just had the most amazing conversation off camera with Wanda Bodine. Have you ever talked to one of these mushhead cat owners who sits around musing on the spiritual nature of cathood? They say things like, my cat is so intelligent, and she can sense when I'm about to go to Cleveland, you know? And my favorite of all of them is, I only wish that cats were able to talk to us. I know there are things he's trying to tell me. Okay, all right, let's imagine that somebody was so spiritually in tune with his cat, and the cat was so intelligent that the cat could talk. All right? Let's imagine that you worked with this cat for 10 years and you perfected his vocal cords so that instead of cat noises, he could talk like a human being. So finally, after amazing effort, the cat would learn to speak one word. Do you know what the first word out of the cat's mouth would be? Food, right? Now, let's say this cat, which we'll call Butterball the Wonder Cat, was such a dedicated worker that it wasn't satisfied with just being able to ask for food, so it continued its vocal training, and after another 6 months, the cat could speak 2 words instead of 1. You know what it would say? Food now. Now we're really starting to go deep into the spiritual nature of this cat. The human speech training rapidly accelerates from this point. Within just a few more months, the cat is actually able to speak complete sentences. For example, something like, open the blue can now. And ultimately, if the cat lived long enough and was dedicated to truly communicating with humans, you'd get to the highest spiritual nature of cathood. And every Wednesday night, the cat would hold seminars for humans explaining secrets of the universe that only cats know. The cat would sit on the windowsill and say, as you know, the cost of the seminar has risen from 3 cans of Fancy Feast per week to 4 cans. And if we all went to the seminar for about, 3 years, then by the 3rd year, the cat would be teaching us how to pass laws requiring cat food in clean bowls to be left on the kitchen linoleum of all American households at all times, and we would finally understand the mysterious and spiritual nature of the cat. And then we could kick the little smart aleck clean across the room like he deserves. That's what I think about cats. And on more important things, we should talk about, remember when Betsy Palmer got her head sliced off with a machete and movie history was made? Of course you do. We all do. June 13th, 1980, the day red meat came back into the American diet. In Friday the 13th, numero uno. I don't want to get all choked up about past history. I mean, we could list all the highlights like the axe in the face, the double reverse blade through the bimbo's throat, the scene where Jason becomes a born-again mongoloid, the National Friday the 13th Part 2 scandal, when the MPAA ratings board told everybody they were going to X-rate that sucker unless the spear through the twin humps scene came out. And, I mean, my favorite moment was probably when Jason sticks Betsy Palmer's mummified head in Alice's icebox. That scene always said a lot to me personally. Anyway, my point is, some people know how to make sequels and some people don't. Like Halloween 3, the one that didn't have Jamie Lee Curtis, we all know that was a joke. But these Friday the 13th people, they know their sequels. These people don't just make up a new story. These people made the exact same movie 8 times in a row. It's time to paint the walls red. The drive-in totals are 13 bodies, 16 breaths. Of course, all of those are brutally excised in the TNT version. 2 gallons blood, butcher knife to the forehead, hacksaw to the throat, bimbo slice and dice, knife through the back of the throat, shish kebab action to the lower privates, corkscrew through the hand, bimbo through a plate glass window, skull mashed into the bathroom tiles, eye gouging, hands nailed to the floor, axe to the tummy, heads roll, hands roll, and Ted White does a hell of a Jason in this movie. 3.5 stars. Check it out. I'll be here. There's also some grisly stuff in it. Unfortunately, there are no cat beheadings.
Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
Oh, man, this is going to be a long night. It's obvious we're not going to see any of these killings tonight. The most gruesome one in the movie is the nurse that you just saw. It's a fairly famous shot in which Jason guts her like a fish. He inserts the knife at the sternum and rips downward. It's about a 2-second shot, which is very long for a Friday the 13th movie. Of course, in the TNT version, it was a 0-second shot, so you couldn't see what happened to her at all. Anyway, typically what they would do in these movies is they show one really gory killing at the beginning, and then all the rest of them are done with flash cuts. You might see something, you might not, and then at the very end they would have a paint-the-walls red finale killing where Jason gets burned up or decapitated or impaled on a spike or something indicating that he's probably dead now. And for those who are counting, by the way, this movie has Jason murders number 33 through 45. There's a special Jason fan club that keeps count of them. Of course, they do not count Jason as a dead body, even though he dies at least once every movie. But of course, all the murders in the first movie were done not by Jason, but by Jason's mother, Betsy Palmer, so I'm not sure the count is accurate anyway. Okay. Evidently, the TNT censors are going to eliminate all the close-up flash cuts of the actual killings, so this movie is going to be painful. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but yeah, I do. All right, well, let's just see what happens, okay? Do you realize what it means to be put in the position of watching a Friday the 13th movie for the story value? That's where... Do we have some more brewskis back there? Because, ooh, this is going to be bad. If you got something to say about tonight's movie or me or the mail girl or anything else that's on your mind, then I invite you to speak your mind in Joe Bob's Rec Room. I got spies that tell me everything happens in there, and sometimes I drop in just to see how many people enjoy wasting a perfectly good Saturday night by watching this show. You can't get there from here, but you can get there at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision.
Come talk monsters in Joe Bob's Rec Room at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision. Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
You know why the fat girl gets killed? Because she's fat. Anybody who's fat has to die in a Friday the 13th movie. Anybody who has sex has to die. Anybody who just talks about sex or wants to have sex has to die. Unfortunately, that means Corey Feldman is probably safe. Because he was only 12 years old when he made this movie. I don't know, though. He's watching those skinny dippers. He's spying on those teenagers making out. But I think Aristotle has a rule that you can't kill any character under the age of 14. Except when Medea goes crazy and murders her own children. Anyway, the reason this is considered one of the worst of all the Friday the 13th movies is scenes like the fat hitchhiker scene, because nothing to do with the plot. She just gets a knife shoved through the back of her throat, comes out the front while she's eating a banana. And that was just too cynical even for hardcore fans. And she didn't have sex. So I guess food was supposed to be her sex, right? Not that we get to see that knife come out the front of her throat. The TNT censors spared us even that small pleasure in life. And another question I have. It's obviously autumn because all the leaves have turned colors, so what are these teenagers doing there? Are they high school kids, and why aren't they in high school? Are they college kids? Why aren't they in college? Or are they just slacker dropouts? But even if they're all slacker dropouts, would they freeze their wang doodles off trying to swim naked in that lake in the autumn? I don't know, and I don't really care, because we have more scenes coming up with Tina and Terry, the Jiggle Twins. Okay, roll it. Okay, what's the story so far? Oh, yeah, I forgot. There is none. All right, most of you already know that MonsterVision is on every Saturday night on TNT, but some of you don't know that you can get a preview of this week's MonsterVision right now. If you check out the MonsterVision website, you can find out about this week's creature feature, plus you read some of my most personal fan mail. You can play the Monster Caption Contest. Won't that be fun? Win a T-shirt. Sneak a peek at this week's MonsterVision Playmate. To get there, point your browser to tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision. And as for those of you who want to voice your opinions or suggestions or complaints or gripe at us, here's the mailing address you need. MonsterVision at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. But if you're one of those cyber people who love to send email all the time, you got a choice of two addresses for me. Why do we have two addresses? One is monstervision@turner.com, and the other is joebob@turner.com. I don't know. Don't make me have to tell you all this again because it was too confusing to remember all the first time.
Visit the MonsterVision website at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision. Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
You know what I love? I love that geek dancing that Crispin Glover does in that scene. One strange thing about Friday the 13th 4 is that most of the actors actually went on to have real careers. Crispin Glover as Jimmy, Corey Feldman as Tommy, Kimberly Beck, who plays the lead, she'd been an actress since the age of 2. She was in Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie. She was in the immortal drive-in classic Massacre at Central High. Judy Aronson, who plays the jealous Samantha.
Paul thinks I'm great in bed.
She's been in a lot of shows. I can't remember the names of them right now. Joan Freeman, who plays Mrs. Jarvis, she starred in Panic in the Year Zero. Peter Barton as Doug was on The Young and the Restless for years. It's funny that one of the worst sequels had the most professional actors, but that's actually the way it was supposed to work, because Paramount Pictures used these movies like a minor league farm system. They would let unproven writers and unproven directors and unproven actors work on them, thinking they might develop a few real talents. They were looking for a Jamie Lee Curtis. They did not find one. And they were all produced by Frank Mancuso Jr., the son of the chairman of Paramount, Frank Mancuso Sr., even though I'm sure he would have gotten the job even if Daddy didn't run the studio. And, all right, these kids are shotgunning beers, they're skinny dipping in the dark, they're pairing off in new and unpredictable combinations. We've got nympho twins in the house. I don't know, but I think Jason is going to be a little hacked off, don't you? Back to Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Oversexed teenagers go into the woods, and they don't come out of the woods. And they know it's Jason's woods. They say, well, if I go there, I might get hacked up by Jason, but this 18-year-old airhead might sleep with me. What the hell?
Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
Well, the knife up through the rubber raft is totally gone. I think you could tell that Paul got a harpoon to the groin. You know, this movie did have less blood than the other Friday the 13th, mainly because by 1984 there was pressure on Paramount Pictures to stop making these movies. The first one came out on June 13th, 1980, and it was an independent film produced by Sean Cunningham, who produced Wes Craven's early films, and Paramount really had nothing to do with that film. They just released it in theaters, and they were amazed when it became one of the all-time top-grossing horror films. I think it was a little bit of a fluke. It had been 2 years since Halloween, which was a much better film, but John Carpenter refused to approve any sequels to that film, so the public was starved for horror. Okay, so normally what happens is that a sequel always makes a little less money than the original. And with each sequel you make, the box office goes down until eventually you stop making them because the budget is more than the expected return on the movie. So Paramount brought out Part 2 in 1981, and it performed true to form. It made slightly less than Part 1. So they wanted to think of something new and different for Part 3, so they made it in 3D, and it became the highest-grossing 3D movie in history. The box office actually went up on that one, so they decided to make a fourth one. Now, this one, believe it or not, was the most successful of them all. It made $11 million just on the opening weekend alone. And I think what happened is this. These movies were publicly condemned. They were called the ultimate slasher film, slice and dice, examples of the worst of American filmmaking, embarrassing to the industry, movies that moms everywhere love to hate. So what happens when you have a reputation like that? Teenagers want to see them. And young teenagers, the 14, 16 crowd, they became the key audience for these movies, even though technically they were R-rated movies and you had to attend with an adult. So anyway, it's no wonder that they made 8 of these movies with possibly still more to come, because New Line Cinema keeps talking about bringing out a picture called Freddy versus Jason sometime in 1998, and that would be Jason's 9th appearance since 1980. But let's not dwell on business, because half the cast is still alive. We got to get busy here. Roll it. You know, also, I think they took some dialogue out of the beginning of this movie, too, because that nurse at the beginning of the movie, I remember this now. She says, "You're the Super Bowl of self-abuse." That line was not in there, was it? And she says, "I am not going to fake any more orgasms for you." Now, why would they take that out? Lately, they've been hacking these things to bits. Maybe it's a Christmas thing. I don't know. We're not supposed to think about SEXX at Christmas time. Who was wielding the scissors this week? Who's in the... It wasn't the Wicked Witch of the West, was it? You know that lady Sarah from Baltimore, that new one? Why is it always the young women who are the worst editing Nazis? Hey, you want to see rare photos of Sonny Bono being turned into a giant avocado? Want to see Freddy Krueger without his makeup? How about some behind-the-scenes dirt on Italian horror classics like The Vampire and the Ballerina? If you want to break from the New York Times, we suggest you try the MonsterVision Weekly World. Where else can you find a headline story like Headless Monster found in topless bar? You can't find anything that good anywhere else but at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision.
Visit the MonsterVision website at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision.
Hey, Joe Bob Briggs here with the #1 rule for a TNT MonsterVision movie. Anybody can die at any moment.
Watch Batteries Not Included when we from tonight at 11 on TNT's MonsterVision. Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
So, as Trish and Rob run back to the house through the rain to rescue Corey Feldman, this might be a good time for Joe Bob's advice to the hopeless, and to help me out is the TNT mail girl who never has sex on the first date except at Christmas time. I heard that.
What did you just say?
I said you're a very moral girl when it comes to jumping into bed with the first man you see.
Could we talk about something else?
All right. What are you doing for Christmas? And what manly hunk are you doing it with?
I am going to see my mom in Michigan, and then I'm going to the islands for a few days.
The islands.
The Caribbean.
Oh, the Caribbean. You call that the islands. You're going to the islands. Of course, you're going to the islands.
A lot of people do it at Christmas.
I guess you'll just be wandering around the islands by yourself.
Not exactly.
I didn't think so, but I don't want to know. Don't even tell me.
Well, I'm not going to tell you, so why don't we just start with our first letter? As a matter of fact, this is from a family on the internet.
Just tell me it's not somebody on the crew.
My lips are sealed.
Oh, no. Come on. All right. Good grief. Hi, Joe Bob. How come when we get a letter from a family on the internet, it comes in an envelope? All right. Hi, Joe Bob. All time when my family watch your channel, we get only disappointment. We live about 3 years in USA, but all your movies we already have seen in Ukraine more than 5 years ago. Have you anything fresher? Help us to reborn our interest to your channel. Sincerely, Vasim's family. You know, this really makes me mad. How many times have I told them in programming, check those TV schedules in Kiev. They are beating us on these movies. People go to the Black Sea for their vacation. They see all the good horror movies over there. And then here we are showing them again 5 years later. I have no idea how this kind of thing happens. Vasim, please accept my apologies. This will not happen again. And please tell them back in Chernobyl, we are aware of the problem. Gee, so, man.
That was funny.
I have a letter for you, though.
for me?
It's Christmas. On Christmas, you get a letter, too. Read this one.
You didn't write this, did you?
No, it's a real letter.
Okay. Joe Bob. Hey, how are you doing? Just wanted to write you. Tell the mailwoman I am 15, and when I get like 25 and out of college, I will like marry her. Stephen A. Quack. That's sweet.
I think you ought to take him up on it, though. Well, here's what you do. Tell him it's a deal, then make him pay reverse alimony during the next 10 years to keep you situated in the style of living to which you will have become accustomed once he starts supporting you at the age of 25.
Actually, that reminds me. I have this one for you.
What? Too many letters.
It's
What is
Christmas.
this?
It's
All right.
Christmas.
Last letter. Joe Bob, I am in love with you. Will you go out with a 12-year-old? I love MonsterVision, and I love you. That's why I stay up late on Saturday nights. I also think that you are hilarious. Could I be your new mail girl? I'd do anything if I could meet you. Did I mention that I love you? Well, I do. By the way, I'm not a geek, and I hate the internet. It was the only way I could get in touch with you. Love, Jamie. Let's not say her last name.
Let's
They'll
not
tease
do
her
that
at
to
school.
Yeah.
Wow, Jamie, I don't get too many proposals for dates from 12-year-olds, but I would say it's pretty high up on my list of dangerous ideas, if you know what I mean, and I hope you do. But I really appreciate it, hon. That was a nice letter. Did you notice that she's trying to take your job, though?
I've noticed.
Women start doing that stuff early in life.
Oh.
Back to the movie.
And men don't?
Merry Christmas.
Wait a minute. You're avoiding the subject. And men don't?
No, I'm wishing you Merry Christmas. Or in Ukrainian, Vasilyevna Serginkova. Merry Christmas in Ukrainian.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
You want to win a MonsterVision t-shirt? Only one way to do it. Got to try your luck in the Monster Caption Contest. All you have to do is make the six-headed jury laugh. The funniest one-liner gets a prize. And I'm sorry, the t-shirts only come in extra large because all our contestants are fat. I mean, all our contestants are big Monster fans.
Play the Monster Caption Contest and win a free t-shirt at tnt.turner.com/MonsterVision. Back to MonsterVision host Joe Bob Briggs and Friday the 13th, the final chapter on TNT.
Kimberly Beck is definitely a good screamer. But look what happens here. Jason gouges out that guy's eyeballs in the shower, which you don't actually see because the TNT sensors got rid of the eyeball shot. Then Sarah gets an axe to the chest. Then Trish and Rob go back and find Tommy safe in the house, but the phone won't work. So their solution, after rushing home to save Tommy, is to both go next door to the other house and leave Tommy alone. Then when they get inside the other house, they decide to split up. Then when Trish hears a plate glass window breaking upstairs, she decides to go upstairs alone. In other words, all these people deserve to die, including Trish, even though she wields a pretty mean machete. 10 years after she made this movie, Kimberly Beck was asked what she remembered about it, and she said all she could remember was crying a lot, crying almost constantly. And when they gave her that machete, she was afraid of actually hurting Jason with it. Jason being this veteran stuntman named Ted White. And, well, by the way, Ted was so into his role that he didn't socialize with any of the other actors. He thought it would destroy their fear of Jason. Okay. Now for the thrilling conclusion of Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Also, when the movie came out, Ted White refused screen credit because he wasn't satisfied with the way Jason was portrayed in the final edit. You know, sometimes you can just live in Southern California too long. Beware the evil Corey. Great freeze frame of Corey Feldman, the next Jason. Unfortunately, they didn't bring back Corey Feldman for part 5. By that time, he was on to bigger and better drugs. I mean, bigger and better acting parts. Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter, Red Meat Champion of 1984. Okay, next week on MonsterVision, we have another one of those warm, fuzzy, sentimental Spielbergian things about old people called Batteries Not Included, starring Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy. Twice in 1 month we've had these people. Cocoon last week, and here they come again. This always happens around the holidays because Grandma stays up late, and we don't want her to get grumpy and call Jesse Helms and tell him what she saw on TNT. So that's it for me tonight. Stick a fork in me, I'm done. Did you guys hear the one about the burglar who breaks into a house one night? He's tiptoeing through the living room, and suddenly he freezes because he hears this loud voice that says, "Jesus is watching you." And he waits. Silence returns. He creeps forward. "Jesus is watching you." Silence again. He creeps forward again. "Jesus is watching you." He stops dead in his tracks. He's really scared. He looks around frantically, and in the dark corner, he sees this bird cage, and inside the cage is a parrot. So the burglar says, "Was that you who said Jesus is watching me?" The parrot says, "Yes, it was." So the burglar is relieved, and he relaxes. And he says to the parrot, "What's your name?" The parrot says, "Clarence." And the burglar says, "That's a dumb name for a parrot. What idiot named you Clarence?" The parrot says, "The same idiot who named the Rottweiler Jesus." Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. All right, I got another parrot joke. A lady goes to her priest and she says, "Father, I have a terrible problem. I have these 2 female talking parrots, but the only thing they can say is, 'Hi, we're prostitutes. Want to have some fun?'" And the priest says, "That's terrible, but just by luck, I own 2 talking male parrots that I have trained to pray and read the Bible. So bring your 2 female parrots over tomorrow, and we'll straighten them out." So the next day, the lady brings her 2 parrots over to the priest's residence. And the 2 male parrots are in their cage, holding rosary beads in their claws, and praying. As soon as the female parrots spot the male parrots, they say, "Hi, we're prostitutes. Want to have some fun?" The 2 male parrots look at each other. One parrot says to the other parrot, "You can get rid of the beads now. Our prayers have been answered."